lot of the implant victims, I guess, they noticed some kind of a market. I mean, they were even either having headaches or some kind of a rash or something at those sites that alerted to them that they had some kind of a operation or something there.
No,
you didn't notice anything like that?
No, the only thing I've had, since my mid-20s, would be migraines quite often.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about it, other than I got, what I told you, I don't want to talk about on the air, that condition, but I also have severe arthritis in my back. And, that, I don't know. It's weird.
Well, that sighting you had, I mean, now the black unmarked mystery helicopters, that is a phenomena that's often reported, especially with the cattle mutilation. And they certainly seem very physical, but they have also seen some of these unmarked black helicopters do strange things. I think back when we were getting clippings mailed in on our subcommittee of the animal mutilation subcommittee we had, people had sent in news clippings, and then some of the news clippings were kind of strange. In Colorado, they reported black helicopters, and then they would spot the Bigfoot being taken up into the helicopter. So I don't know how those are pretty much what you would call anecdotal news, but I don't know how much of that is reliable. But certainly the black helicopters have been seen. The one you seen didn't seem to be your normal helicopter.
Well, it was no helicopter at all. I mean, I was in the military. I know what helicopters sound like. I was in enough of them. Believe me.
See.
And there was absolutely no sound, nothing. And, I talked to Peter Davenport because he was, for a while, he was on our show like every Saturday evening for a half an hour, reporting UFO sightings. And, he told me even himself, that's one of his first sightings of a UFO was about the same type of sighting I had, the bright light, poof, and it was gone.
Well, that's like the one I had in '60. There was no sound. It was just completely soundless. It was there was no noise at all. It just was a very unusual bright light that I even mistook for a gigantic white dove with swept back appearance. But it changed its shape immediately, and it turned into a globular spinning object and just spun off. So certainly we're dealing with something that's kind of a blend, part psychic phenomena, part subconscious phenomena, and a lot of times it seems very physical. So I can't explain it. I don't know exactly if it's something out of a quantum physics technology, or I just don't know. But it seems to have been present down through history, a lot of your religion, a lot of your legends. And it's possible, like Carl Jung said, it adapts itself to the age, and takes on forms that are more comfortable or almost dictated by the norms of the society at the time. And, of course, right now we're into spaceships and space things, so that's maybe why it takes on that appearance. But I don't know, Gary. I'm like you. I just am an observer, and I try to make interesting points along the way. And some scientists seem to be making more headway than others in it. But it's a sure. Hynek did his best. We got other, John Keel wrote some books trying to make sense out of it. And then we had Jacques Vallée. He tries to make sense out of it. It's just a very, very puzzling phenomenon. That might be why a lot of people don't want to get interested in it, because it is a little bit beyond the normal, average, everyday trend of things, And I said, no, it's a little too deep for me. I'm going to stick with my sports and my movies and stuff. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't know. Yeah, again, I'm going to go like with another guest I had. He was a park ranger for the U.S. Forest Service. And, he wrote a book, and he was on my show over a year and a half ago, and it was about owls. And, basically what he was talking about, he'd go in the forest, and he would see owls everywhere, where it was kind of, like, strange. And
McClellan is his name?
I can't remember his name offhand. I'm getting at that age where, if I don't have notes in front of me. But he wrote a book on owls. And then when I had him on my show, we were talking, and then it was really funny is he lived in a area where he didn't have to close his curtains in his bedroom. He had a long driveway. Nobody lived in the area where he lived at. And he claimed that he saw these, like, grays walking towards, his house, and they just walked right through the window. And, I started thinking, and I asked him, I said, well, isn't that about the same time you started, seeing owls? And he goes, yeah. And I said to him, I asked him, I said, do you think maybe they put something in your mind as when you see aliens, you're not seeing aliens anymore, you're seeing owls?
Yeah, I've written some articles on this. In fact, I'm trying to bring it up now. I think his last name McKellen.
It might be.
And he's written some books on owl phenomena. And he's just like we've been saying. He feels it's a part of a much larger overall phenomena. That in fact, there's been connections with UFOs and things. I'm trying to think. I've got it right in front of me now, I think. But yeah, here it is. Take a quick look at it, if I can get his name. Mike Sellen.
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yeah, and he wrote The Messenger Accounts of Ours, UFOs, and the Deeper Reality. And he feels that just owls sometimes with UFO synchronistic phenomena, pretty much like I've been outlining, and there's been Mothman phenomena connected, and he feels it's a clue as to what's going on. He says here, I can't help but think that the owl is playing the role of an alarm clock, trying to wake up the experiencer. Something is happening, and it implies that there is a lot more to reality than what we've been taught. I am now at these points where I feel that something far more bizarre and far more complex is going on than simply metal spaceships filled with scientists. Whatever is at play, it is unreal enough to see the patterns, yet exclusive enough to remain a mystery. There is a mood to these stories, a great feeling that goes far beyond just the nuts and bolts collected by most UFO investigators. These are hunches that lead nowhere except perhaps within. And so that's his summation of, he's had a number of incidences, synchronicities, and but it all fits into a greater mystery of parapsychology and all kinds of things.
Well, sometimes I wonder, even like, Bigfoot. A lot of times Bigfoot is reported where there's UFO activity, like Mount Adams, for example, is a hot spot for UFOs. It's also a hot spot for, Bigfoot. But I'm just wondering, maybe that they somehow have the capability of scanning whoever's there on the ground, their thoughts. And, and maybe if the person is thinking Bigfoot or owls or whatever, that's what they're going to project. So
right.
they're not going to see grays walking around. They're not going to see, the other. They're going to see what their mind is interpreting.
Yeah, but these owls in some of these cases seem pretty physical. It's almost as if they're in tune. I don't know if it's a part of their nature, but if they're in tune with UFOs and other things going on. Of course, the owl's been a classical motif in movies and things, So there may be something going on. But the other animals have also been symbols or motifs throughout history, so I couldn't just make owls a fall guy, but there certainly seemed to be a part of it. When we went up, when we had mutilations up here in Ellsbury back in around 73, in the Ellsbury and Foley area, they weren't very extraordinary cattle mutilations, but we had the opportunity to go on some sky watches there and kind of sit out in the countryside and see, you can see the heavens crystal clear when there's no city lights around. And we went up there on a field trip. In fact, we parked up there on the farmer's field that had one of the mutilated cows, and he said, "Yeah, it's fine. You guys can, do your sky watch or whatever." And one of the participants brought a motion picture camera, and we were photographing things that really turned out to be airplanes later on. But we were, if you remember, I don't know if you know the Harley Rutledge, the physicist from Cape Girardeau, that did a lot of investigations in the Ozarks back in the 73 UFO flap. He had noted some of the UFOs he saw down there, and they had like a helix, electromagnetic helix effect, around the trail where they went. And we thought we were seeing the same thing, but it actually was a jittery camera. It was nothing to do with but we did see something strange up there that we couldn't explain. For one thing, these orange lights came up over the horizon, and up in that Ellsbury area, they have microwave towers. And I noticed this, but by the time I got the attention of the other people, I think the lights just kind of meandered off. They were going around one of the microwave towers. And I said, "Guys, is this normal? Is this something that looks..." And, of course, they said, no. And then also we thought, what was the North Star to the north? And it had been sitting there so steady and the same brightness for so long, we figured, well, that's got to be the North Star. So we were going into our field investigation a little bit later. I said, "Hey, guys, the North Star is moving." And it was. This light that stood stationary for a greater part of an hour start moving behind a tree line. I said, "Looks like it's going to go over towards the river." Then it arched around, and I said, "It's coming this way. It's going to be right over us in a little bit." And I said, the one guy said, "Here's your opportunity to get something on film." He said, "I can't. I used to film up." So here's this thing that came over us. It kind of crested, and it looked like an airplane fuselage. There were windows in it, and I didn't notice any wings. It was completely silent, and it crested and kind of went back towards the river, like it was going towards St. Louis. And then all of a sudden you could see the strobe light, like most aircraft had a strobe light, but it was totally silent. I thought I heard a very, very low whistling sound, but the others didn't say they didn't hear nothing like that. So what was this thing? And when even if it was an approaching aircraft, even if you see aircraft approaching, the lights, their headlights or whatever you want to call them, wing lights, cabin lights, whatever, fluctuate. It don't stay a steady brightness for a greater part of an hour. So I don't know what that was, and I don't know what the little orange objects were. But this is certainly things, I guess, that people up there take for granted, or they just figure, but these things happen,
Yeah, and here's the whll thing, right? You see something like this, I mean, you can report it to, like, the National Reporting Center, or you can report it to MUFON, and how well and how deep do they investigate? Yeah.
If we had investigated that officially and in depth, we would have called, seen what airplanes were flying over the area, all that kind of thing, But we didn't go into depth on that, I think the one lady that accompanied us, she did write something up on it and put it on the web, on the internet.